Well, it was nothing. She just looked at me like I was crazy, but I definitely heard something. I'm suspicious. Anyways, I'm gonna quickly look up RazerBlader. RazerBlader. It's gonna be hard to say quickly. It looks like it's working today. A wiggle-whack. I don't have a proxy, so I got some time. His versus Protoss is his weakest, which is not surprising. He was defeated by both Geralt and Sol yesterday, but with 1-2s, so he's got some fight in him for sure. He kind of made a bit of a splash for the IAM qualifiers? Wait. On the 7th? Wow, was that long ago? Really? Okay, yeah, I guess so. So for the qualifiers for IAM, he made a bit of a splash by defeating Lenok 2-1, but then still fell down 0-2 versus Namsharn, sort of, so. He has a chance for sure to be one of the... I was saying 32 yesterday because I didn't stop and do math or anything, and I actually thought there were like 8 people who were invited, but I guess I'm wrong about that, so. He has a strong chance of being the 24 players qualified to these qualifiers. Because there are 3 qualifiers of 8s, and that's how math works. I guess I assumed that there was people already in because where's Showtime and whatnot. Oh, okay, I wasn't wrong. It just, oh, it was a, okay. Okay, well, yeah, okay. Like, I'm trying to read the qualifier now, and this might not be a great time. Yeah, it actually might be an okay time. Nothing's happening right now. I didn't do the introductions, but whatever. Bunker is going up pretty, like, that's a really fast bunker. Looks like RazerBlader has had to deal with a lot of fast adepts, which makes sense, but is something that Drogo is not actually doing. In fact, Drogo going for a very defensive unit here, the Sentry. Gets hallucination real quick when you build it this fast. And a robotics facility, so. Typically not much to worry about for now, but if this goes into Colossus, which seems to be a lot of European Protoss' choice of these qualifiers, then, you know, that's something to worry about later on. But for now, he's not going to get harassed or anything. What? 32 players in 8 groups of 4 each played in dual tournament format. Top 2 players of each group advance to the next stage. Top 2, round of 8, round robin. 2 divisions, Europe, America. Usually this is where they say where they qualified from. But was it from last year's WCS results? Because obviously, like, Cyril's not playing in these qualifiers. She doesn't play in any of these qualifiers. Someone in chat will tell me, but I'm, you know, it's usually a good guess that's based off WCS results. Anyways, continued things not happening, really. We do have a medevac now flying in. So the Wood of Mine job has been getting set up for a little while. It's 3 Wood of Mines, and Drogo is not paying attention for some time there. So it is going to be more damage than he was really hoping for. Well, that Drogo was hoping to take. That is the appropriate amount of damage that RazerBlader was hoping to get. It's a 6th probe there, and the medevac gets out with 2 Wood of Mines alive. So actually a quite good Wood of Mine drop. It is a robotics bay, which is said it's kind of to be expected in this region. I would like if it was a Korean Protoss doing this, I'd be more worried about using it to be aggressive or setting up a drop for when the tank push comes out, because that's also what they're usually facing all the time. But Europe seems to be very different than all the Koreans you got to see for the IEM server qualifiers, which is really cool. But I think when WCS comes back in full force and we see everyone get back from what was the off season, right, the unofficial off season. Well, I mean, I guess it was the official off-season, but there's not really an off-season for StarCraft because there's so much always going on. But anyways, I think we'll see them kind of come together again, and maybe you'll see some more tank pushes from the Europeans and more Colossus builds from the Protoss or the Koreans. But yeah, for now we're actually seeing quite a stark contrast in our TVPs between the regions, which is neat, but I don't know how long it's going to last. There's always a difference, especially since Europe has a strong scene. It's not just like they're just copying the Koreans like what North Americans have done for quite some time. It's that they actually do find neat builds, different styles of play, styles that can be brought over to Korea to even mess them up, right? So it makes some sense. I feel like it's not nearly as easy of a contrast. It's more like, oh, the thirds come down a little bit later. Or, oh, well, they get Colossus after only this point or something like that, but anyways, I know some Korean Protosses have been doing Colossus. It's just like the Korean Terrans don't let them get that far. So, anyways, RazerBlader is moving out here, but with 3rd CC on the way, +1 finishing up Marauder slow. I mean, this is a macro game. Drogo's gonna meet it about halfway. He took some damage from those Widowmine drops earlier on, but really has had a mostly okay game here. It looks like just meeting a Terran already in the concave in the little map wasn't a good idea. I don't mean to sound like sarcastic when I say shocking, but I'm going to say shocking. There's so many Marauders on the front lines that even though they weren't really supported by the tanks when they're chasing everything down, the Widowmines were getting their shots off, the Marauders were living through everything. And Drogo underestimated the power of his army, it seems, as it really was about the literal power of it. Could he burst down these Marauders in time or not? And the answer was no. If he had a 3rd Colossus, that might be a different story. And hindsight 2020, he probably should have waited for the 3rd Colossus or more warp-ins. But he does take a pretty extreme loss in losing 2 Colossus. RazerBlader is going to lose a medevac and a tank, maybe even 2 medevacs, or maybe he should have been able to save both of those. But I would say 2 Colossus is a harsher loss. RazerBlader is on 3 bases, continued upgrades. In fact, he's going to have 1-1 faster than Drogo has 1-1. That's not something you usually get to see, even when the Protoss goes for the Colossus expand build style, whatever. So this is just a really good position for the Terran, who's now on the way to a 2nd starport, starting to build up the Viking count. Another reason not to lose the medevacs like he did, but he's still at 4, which is that just barely enough to really get by him out, and you can start making Vikings. And when we see Vikings already in production, the 2nd starport should be reactored for more Vikings. If we saw Liberators, then that might be a Tech Lab and a Fusion Core coming down. But as I was talking about in the last series, which granted was like an hour ago because it took so long to get in here, but we used to see Liberator as a response to Protoss, basically, just like in general. It was a game of, can I get to enough Liberators fast enough? But luckily for us, because it wasn't a very entertaining time, it was literally Terrans defended for 13 minutes and then moved out with Liberators and freedom abounds. It has changed from that, and Liberators are now even a bit of a sketchy thing to go for so early on against Colossus. So Vikings are almost the natural way to go, but we also still see someone like Clem, for instance, really hold off on Vikings and go for just a lot of bio and a lot of drops. What we used to see from the Koreans before they just proxied and dropped everywhere. Which is fun, but yeah, it doesn't make very long games. Well, maybe I'm wrong. We do have a Liberator, but that might be more for harassment. 2 Liberators. We'll see. RazerBlader is keeping the pressure up by doing a drop here, and that's what he's got to do. Despite what was a decent first attack, Drogo with nothing else to deal with, right, has had the time to not necessarily rebuild his Colossus. He only built 1 more to give him like a nice 2. He's a nice number. And then otherwise has been going really into his Gateway army. Okay, now we finally have a 3rd Colossus. Oh. Okay, I'm just stupid. All right, so he had a 3 Colossus, and then he's going to the 4th. It just popped out when I was looking. Okay, so he's still going to Colossus, but regardless, my point is he's been able to build up a big army. Colossus, 2, 3, or 4. There's also a lot of Zealots on the ground and Blink Stalkers. Charge is done. I finished up recently, so nice timing here. The Vikings already get a lot of shots off before the Colossus get like very effective laser beams. We also had an SCV pool, which I didn't quite notice. Not all the SCVs. I want to say that was like something like 10 there. But the Vikings are all gone, and they did not kill all the Colossus. So while initially their shots weren't that great, they are starting to really go well here now. And the Stalkers also doing some work against what is now low health Marauders, and now doing work against the Liberators. That attack did not work out. RazerBlader forced to retreat, losing. Okay, apparently it was 16 SCVs that were brought from the front lines. And that is going to be game. Unfortunately not an engagement that RazerBlader really should have taken. If he had 6 more Vikings, I think that might have been the difference maker. And also if they had gotten on top of the Colossus even sooner, right? Like killed 1.5 Colossus before his Marauders were ever really touched, then I think that might work. But despite being set up into what looked like a macro situation, his 3rd CC, he's had an armory and engineering bay on the way. He ended up just doing it all in. So I don't know if that's an opening he thought he saw, or it meant to be more of a, no, it can't be a poke because he pulled the SCVs. Or it was almost a fetus mentality push where he was like, you know what, I bet the Protoss is back up to Colossus and shit, and this is, like, I haven't been able to continue my pressure, so I'm probably losing again, and so I'm just gonna go for it. I'm just gonna do it. And I say that as if, you know, I'm judging his mentality or anything like that, and it's really not. Like, he's not necessarily wrong that while the game might have been okay after that first push, maybe even slightly in his favor. I need to save the day. Sorry, I was talking about the push. Yeah, even though that game might have been okay to go into a macro game, you are still facing a Protoss who has managed to get to Charge, Colossus, 2/2, 4th base, and the late game is very difficult. But I do strongly believe that RazerBlader could have gotten to a maxed out situation and had max versus max armies, but then, you know. We know some Terrans have strong opinions on how the late game goes, so I'll just leave it there. I don't know much about RazerBlader. I know he has strong performances, and certainly he can still bring out other things to do against a Protoss player, like what we're seeing right now. So maybe this gets tied up, but that attack was a little oddly timed. In the top left is the blue Protoss. It is Drogo. In the bottom right, as the red Terran, it is RazerBlader. Oh, right, the ladder race. Doi. Okay, thanks, guys. I was like, did I miss something? Like, there wasn't another qualifier. But yes, there was. It was called the ladder race, and I just totally forgot about it. Thank you. That was not really bothering me anymore, I guess, but it's definitely good to remember. Doi. Alright. So by winning the ladder qualifier, which happened a couple days ago, actually, you don't have to play in these grueling brackets, which double elimination can be quite long. The people who won through the ladder qualifier are almost guaranteed to win through the bracket qualifier, but as of right now, we generally have the 32 set members of Europe, maybe the bottom 6 or so, kind of going in and out and out. But Europe is still a strong region for new talent, so we always have that opportunity to see the newcomers pop in and knock someone that we all know and love out. But you know, so be it. That's what happens. That's what should happen. So what should, you know, hopefully be happening is that we do have new young blood to do that. Whereas, you know, alternatively, you look at the Korean scene, we basically know who's going to be in GSL. We pretty much know that for a fact. And RazerBlader, it's topical, man. he is one of those guys that's, I mean, maybe he's been around for a while. A lot of these guys have been playing for years, but they're actually starting to get their tournament results up to par. So this has been scouted, you know, the whole proxy thing, but the amount of proxying that's going on has not been scouted. Drogo did not send a probe out to scout. Now he's sending a stalker, and he's going to find the entire Terran production. Hello. There's not too much you can... Wait, hold on here. The Cyclone's way, way far away. This is a very bold multiple proxy builds. Like, that starport is delayed, which is quite worth it. Would Drogo have loved to have scouted this with a probe earlier on and like a zealot or something to stop the factory from being done? Oh, yeah, totally. But for what he's been given here, finding the starport and delaying it is still good stuff. Believe it or not, 2 stalkers are a challenge for Cyclones, unless the Cyclone has a lot of room to maneuver and is the one kind of on the offensive. Defensively, when it can't just run away all the time, it gets a little bit more difficult. SCVs are being pulled with this, which I imagine was going to be the case anyway, but maybe it should have been pulled a little sooner. Cyclone's gonna get repaired, tanks on the way, Marines, a Liberator? Oh, a Viking. We saw this push a lot when motherships existed. Okay, it is Liberator. But now Viking's not really useful for anything. I don't know if this is gonna work, man. Like, this is such a long build in the making, and unless Drogo did not find anything to tell him what it was, unless he was going through the whole, like, okay, I gotta worry about the Proxy Reaper. No, it didn't happen. Okay, need to worry about the Proxy Cyclone. No, it didn't happen. Okay, I gotta worry about the Proxy Banshee. No, it didn't happen. Unless he was doing that and, like, messing up his builds, I don't think he is screwed up enough that he can't take this on, and, well, I'm right about that. Because this is just absolutely destroyed. To RazerBlader's credit, you know, if Drogo wasn't so... Actually, hold on here. He kills the Immortal. Things like that to happen. If RazerBlader was in a better position with everything already sieged up and ready to go, this is still a very strong push, don't get me wrong, but Drogo seeing it, having knowledge about it, having the exact knowledge of what type of push it was, and having the knowledge of, okay, I can push into this and take a somewhat decent trade, means that this push doesn't really work out. So RazerBlader is going to go for more SCVs, but it's going to be really difficult to play a macro game out here. It's nice they got the Immortal, but this Warp Prism could have been used on the defensive. It is now being used on the offensive, and there's no factory at home to help defend against this, so it will just be game. I'm gonna go straight for the pylon, which is currently being energized by the shield battery. It's weird, they're both covering each other's butts. The Immortal has lost its shield, but now even the Zealot's getting some shots off on these units. The probes could still go for us around. That was a really, really cool mule block.